all your favorite artists.
Yo, what's up, y'all? This B.O.B.
Yo, what's good? This Future.
What's up, y'all? This is Faith Evans.
What's up, y'all? This is J. Cole.
This is B-SideRadio.
Paragon 7 Studios.
I know that you're the ultimate in not shaming people who refuse to wear masks.
Yeah.
I was shamed for not wearing a mask here in Hendersonville a couple of days ago. Somebody would not serve me, and I didn't get mad. I went back to my car and got the mask. It was like 1 a.m. I just wanted to get some ginger. I had an upset stomach, and I was trying to get some ginger ale.
Yeah.
I didn't want to call you for healing. I think you said
call
that
me anytime,
you have all the elixir and the panacea, but I was just like, hey, I'm gonna get some Pepto, and I'm gonna get some Canada Dry and just get through it.
Yeah.
And in my upset stomach, I did not wear a mask going into the gas station up the street, and the person was just like, we're not going to serve you. And oh, by the way, there's an ordinance in Hendersonville. If you get caught not wearing a mask, it's going to be a $2,500 fine. I was like, that's pretty steep.
Crazy.
$2,500 is like a fine that if I parked in a handicapped spot and whipped my Johnson out and just urinated on the sign, like that's a huge fine.
Right.
That's a huge fine. Like most people don't have $2,500 just to throw out.
Yeah.
That said, I don't think that it's wise to be opening up Disney World and some of these other spots. Like there has to be some middle ground.
Right.
And the big debate, and what I want to bring you in, both of our mothers are teachers. And both of our mothers taught English for 40 plus years in the same school system. Basically, the same bosses, basically.
Oh, wow,
same
I didn't
type
know
of people.
that.
Yeah, same school system. So my mom ran the South Central system here.
Right.
In Nashville.
Yeah.
Your mom is obviously a teaching legend all over the world.
Yeah.
Shout out to Gazetta Holt.
Shout out, Ma.
Teaching legend all over the world. If she's watching this on Roku. Do you think that kids, how do you feel, do you think that kids, now neither of us have any kids. I don't think you have any kids.
I don't think so either.
I don't think that I have any kids. Now, it is possible that I have some kids floating around Asia. That's another conversation for another day.
Oh,
but
God.
to my knowledge, I do not have any children.
Oh, God.
If I do, they're all in their 20s. They're grown.
Oh, God.
So I would not feel comfortable, at the very least, I would feel more comfortable sending my kids to school.
Right.
But the median age for teachers is much higher than the median age for the typical citizen.
Yeah.
And you have people like your mom and my mom that are in their early 70s, that have been in the game a long time, that are still contributing and still inspiring. That's an age group that I'm a little bit more worried about. I'm not saying that they shouldn't open schools, but I like the idea of, let's think of a strategic way to mitigate risk, because we all take risks in life.
Yeah.
One side, we talked about this before, one side, don't go out, hide under your couch. If you open your window and someone's running by on the sidewalk, they may sweat, and the sweat may find its way through your window and kill you and your whole family. That's one extreme.
That's a really ridiculous part.
The other extreme,
far-fetched extreme.
The other extreme is going to Disney World and taking your whole family there. It's probably not the time to do that. I mean, they're clocking 20,000 cases of COVID a day in Florida.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you can't do that. I'm just saying that you might want to push that back a year. It won't kill you to push your vacation back a year. But I like the idea of, hey, let's sit back and think how we can make this safer for teachers and make it safer for kids instead of throwing everyone to the wolves. But what is your perspective? Because I know that you're very into health and very into, you might say, well, you know what, James, I'm going to come in there and I'm going to give everyone cod liver oil and cinnamon, and no one's going to have coronavirus, period. And
Olive
you can have
oregano.
classes, and that might be your view. But what is your view of it? Because it's becoming this huge kaveffi, as President Trump would say, because people are really angry. And there are a lot of people, they got to get their kids to bleep out the house so they can go back to work and be productive. And just not to have to deal with their kids 24 hours a day.
Right.
Then there are people on the other end that are, they're entertaining what many call fear porn, that if you send kids back, there are going to be 100,000 kids that die. I like to think that they're somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts as a daughter of an educator and someone who's very well traveled, seeing how school systems are in different parts of the world, which I have as well.
I think it's a very scary thing to take people's liberties away, because where do we draw the line? At some point, we've got to implicitly trust, the people who are mandating these things and taking our liberties away. And do we trust them is the question. Do we trust them? Can we be sure that they don't have ulterior motives to take it to the next level of control? And I'm not confident in that. I'm just not. There are too many things that point to, people trying to get, financial gain out of controlling us, and that's frightening to me. I'm not saying there is no virus. I'm not saying that at all. Obviously, people will yell at me just for saying, what I just said. But we just have to be very careful. If you feel more comfortable, social distancing and stuff like that. Like my mom, I was telling her the other day, I'd much rather, if you feel like you need to be protected, I'd rather you wear a visor and all that other stuff.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Than the mask that they told us didn't really work. I mean, come on, have we forgotten that quickly that they told us it didn't work? But now they're mandating that everybody wears it. What the hell is going on? It doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry.
I'm not a big fan of the mandate. I don't.
I'm not either.
And I work in healthcare, so I know.
Yeah.
I know what real doctors and nurses wear to protect themselves.
Yeah.
I think that wearing a mask, if there are 50 of us bumping up against each other, I do think that there's some value to that.
Right.
Do I think that it makes sense to wear a mask while you're pumping gas? No.
Right. No.
I don't think
if you're in the car by yourself.
I don't even know if you're going into Kroger for 5 minutes. I don't know if that's going to make a difference personally.
So this is maybe, as a health professional, you can answer this for me, because I am studying this virus on the naturopath side.
Right.
I'm not really listening to the news because I think it's just, I hear stuff and I can't. So maybe from your side, you can tell me where the need is to both socially distance and stay 6 feet apart and wear a mask. Why are we doing that? Well, at one point it was one or the other.
I think that it's just conceptually, people like myself that run healthcare systems and have huge financial responsibility and responsibility for communities and understand, my field is, I'm an expert at risk management within healthcare. So I can basically say that a 72-year-old black male with diabetes whose A1C is X this is what their risk score correlates to versus a 49-year-old woman that has multiple sclerosis. Like I study those and I look at it from an algorithm.
Yes.
I look at it from an actuarial standpoint, and that's what I do for a living. And I don't like to brag, but I'm one of the top probably 20 people in the country.
I love that.
That do that.
That's
and,
great.
I've been very successful, and kind of branching off and doing some next level stuff with that.
Nice.
It all goes down to the bottom line. The CDC looks at how much hospital space is available and how much it costs to take care of a COVID patient. See, a COVID patient that has to be intubated and has to be on a respirator for 4 weeks.
Right.
The average cost of that nationally is right under $200,000. Somewhere in New York, like those people in New York where you live, you're talking about 3 and change because it's a higher cost of living.
Absolutely.
So unfortunately, a lot of decisions are made under the pretext
of the bottom
cost
line.
Containment and the bottom
Understood.
line.
I get it.
And in this case, it's not just so that, I work in healthcare. I can guarantee you healthcare executives like myself are not making money off of COVID. We're losing money. We've all taken huge pay cuts because of the economy and all of that stuff.
Right.
The bottom line is people like your girl, Mila, who actually does care for these patients. We can't overwork the Milas of this world because there's only a finite amount of them. So people like myself get into the actuarial side and they say that, it's kind of the concept, if you're having sex with someone and you're wearing a condom, then you're less likely to have a pregnancy.
Right.
If you're wearing a condom and spermicide and you pull out and you go around the corner or jump around, do cartwheels afterwards, then you're mitigating that risk even more. Yeah. And the whole point is even if it's a minuscule eradication of risk, because there's only a finite number of ICU beds and there's only a finite number of nurses that can take care of. A lot of people don't realize to intubate someone, it requires to have an anesthesiologist and a respiratory technologist. So you need an RT and an anesthesiologist to intubate someone. You can't just a nurse that works the NICU unit with babies, they can't take care of you or me if we get COVID. They're not trained.
No.
So they definitely can't take care of our parents if they get COVID. So people think a nurse is a nurse, a doctor is a doctor, and that's not how it works. So a lot of these decisions are just made on numeric projections on how many people could get sick. So we get into this whole concept where I think we've gone wrong, Shannon. The narrative should be that these are not the law and the gospel.
Right.
We approach it like it's the law and the gospel.
Yeah.
And then we change every 3 weeks
Yeah.
because we learn something else. So we say that the law and the gospel is to do this. And then a month later, we learn more. And then it's a new law in the gospel.
Or less.
And people like me and you are like, you just told us to do something else 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Whereas people that are in power, not just the president administration, governors, mayors, it's okay to say, you know what, public, I don't know what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
We have a task force. We're learning every day.
Yeah.
We're with you.
Yeah.
We need everyone to be responsible.
Yeah.
But we can't make these definitive blanket statements, and we just need to grow.
We're learning.
We're learning together. Let's all learn together.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, leaders like to say that I found the Holy Grail and this is the truth and nothing but the truth.
And then they change it.
And then when they learn something else,
Yeah.
then they pretend that they just didn't tell us to do one thing
Yes.
just a month ago.
Yes.
It's like you were on TV. Like
Yes.
I have it.
Yes.
I have it with the beauty of Instagram and YouTube, we can go and find where you just said it. So I think that's the key that we're in, but it's a huge dilemma because I hate that COVID-19 has been politicized.
I do too.
I don't think it has anything to do with politics.
I don't either. It drives me crazy.
I've said 100 times. I was saying to someone the other week, I was just like, look, public gatherings spread COVID. I don't care if you're going to protest Breonna Taylor, you're still spreading COVID.
Right.
Now, it might be the right cause.
Right.
I went to the protest in Phoenix, and it was worth it for me to be a part of that.
Yeah.
But I went there knowing that I was risking my health to go.
But also knowing that you were going home to quarantine.
Also, I was going home to quarantine afterwards.
Right.
But people are saying, well, the Trump rallies spread COVID, but the Black Lives Matter rallies don't spread COVID. That's not how it works.
But
that's not
that
how
was
science
literally
works.
on the news.
That's not how science works.
They were on the news.
Right.
That's on the news.
I don't care if it's the NBA. I don't care if it's Major League Baseball. If you put 500 people shoulder to shoulder, you're probably going to have some COVID spread. And COVID doesn't care about police brutality.
Right.
Your moral high ground doesn't shield you from science.
Right.
So I think the smart thing is to say that, hey, I'm a Trump supporter. I'm going to go to a Trump rally because I want to get my guy reelected so he could bleep up the country even more. And it's worth it for me to take the risk. Or I can't stand what happened to Ahmaud Arbery and to George Floyd.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go out there and say power to the people. And I'm going to protect myself to the best of the ability. But if I get sick, I made a calculated risk. And that's what I'm in the healthcare business. It's just it's making calculated risks. You may have extended family that you're close enough to, you know how they live. You might go in their house and chop it up.
Right, absolutely.
But are you just going to go on a stranger you don't know what they're doing? No, that wouldn't be very wise.
Right.
I think with the babies, the advantage of COVID, the only good thing is that this thing hit in March. As it was getting warm. We don't know what it's going to be like with COVID when it's 7 degrees outside, where people are already stuck inside.
Right.
See, me and you can sit outside and talk and do the show and social distance and all of that stuff. It gets much harder to really have gatherings in the yard with friends and loved ones and sit 20 feet away when it's 10 degrees outside. We don't really know how the kids respond to this because they yanked everyone out of school. Now, it seems that this doesn't
they said that it didn't, that it wasn't really,
it doesn't seem as dangerous to kids.
Right.
But I think that when you start packing kids into classrooms, and especially getting teachers back, and once again, our moms who both teach, who will both be teaching this fall, there's a level of concern. If you were a parent and you had Shannon Holt Jr., I remember Shannon Holt at 14, 15, 16. I knew that Shannon Holt very well. You had Shannon Holt Jr., and, she's this beautiful girl about to blossom, get cut from varsity basketball, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Would you pull Shannon Holt Jr. out of school, or would you say, hey, baby, vogue it up, go to class and suck it up? You're a Holt. Darn it. How would you approach it? Or would it just depend on the kid?
I've always heard that, each kid is different. You can't parent one kid the same way you parent another. But the child I would raise, if I ever, had a kid, would be, I have always been very afraid of fear. Fear is one of the things that frightens me most in life. And I
appreciate your openness. That's awesome.
Thank you. I feel that, like I've said many times.
Turning the show into Red Table Talks, but minus the Will Smith. But I think it's very important to talk about fears.
The fear's impact on humanity. It can be absolutely paralyzing. It can bring about what you're afraid of.
It can keep you lonely. It can keep you undereducated.
Absolutely.
It can keep you overweight. It can keep you miserable. It can keep you from having a great relationship with your spouse and your family. Fear is really paralyzing.
So I would really, exactly. So I would really do the same thing that I've been doing with myself, and that is empowering myself where I can, and that is through my immune system, strengthening my immune system. And I would get my kid on that regimen right away, and we would attack any symptoms if they were to come about. I know exactly what to do. I have many friends who we have been advising people through this COVID thing. What are your symptoms? Okay, do this, do that, and not a single person has gotten worse.
So you really more have a proactive approach as far as self-care.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Basically said, I'm not going to depend on vaccines and
no.
Dr. Fauci.
Hell no.
And whatever processes in medical science.
No.
I'm going to focus on keeping Shannon and family well.
Yeah.
So that whatever hits us, COVID, the flu, H1N1, that I will be ready to navigate my family.
I'm never going to listen to someone.
A fantastic perspective.
Yeah, and I won't say I'm never going to listen to someone, but I'm certainly going to second guess anything that someone who does not realize that there is a cure for HIV, there is a cure for herpes, there is a cure for all of these things. I'm not going to put too much stock in someone who doesn't know that, and I'm not going to take the advice of them over the people who are
CB mindset
with.
Is it Sebi or CB? Or?
I think it's Sebi.
Okay.
I think so. But I follow actually more like Dr. Morris. Sebi is great.
Was Left Eye killed because of her relationship with Dr. Sebi?
I don't think so. I think Left
one of your
Eye.
Girls who we will not discuss tried to sell me on that. And we had a discussion.
Yeah, I know.
She told me that Left Eye was.
I was just like,
I
didn't talk to her
think
about
it was on
it, but-
tape. Like, I think that she just crashed her car because she had an accident.
Yeah, and she had predicted
All
that
of this.
she was going to die. She felt it.
She's the only person that died in the car.
Only
If she
person that
hadn't
died in the
worn a
car.
seatbelt, she'd probably still be here.
Yeah.
Spitting 16s.
But she kind of felt it coming on, and I do think people can have premonitions about
People
their own
know,
death.
and people know when their time is up.
Yeah.
Everybody's time isn't to be for 75, 80
Absolutely.
years.
Absolutely.
Some people,
Yeah.
I said that about, as we get to the end of the segment, I said that about the Copester.
Yeah.
It's the only time that a man that I didn't know has died, and like I cried like a child. Like,
You ain't
usually
cried for Pac and
cried-
Biggie?
I didn't cry for them.
What?
I didn't cry for them.
Heartless.
I didn't cry for Pac. I was running around the dorm in Edwards Hall at OU when Pac died. It was a Friday night.
Yes,
and
it was.
right
I'll
after
never
Friday
forget
night
it.
Vesper.
Yep.
There was no cell phones and Instagram
No,
and stuff.
nothing.
So someone had heard it. Like somebody
Yes.
called down from Cali. It was like, "Yo, Pac died." It's
Yeah.
just people were going
So
nuts.
true.
But I cried. I happened to be with some friends celebrating a friend's birthday when Kobe died, and looked at my phone and someone had sent me a text. And, I had to excuse myself from the table and cry. I wasn't even really a big Kobe fan, but you and I went to school in Metro Philly, and Kobe's my year. And I remember going to see Kobe play.
Right.
And, we followed Kobe, and we followed Howard Brown at Pottstown, and we followed certain guys that were really, really good athletes. And I followed Rasheed Wallace, who went to Simon Gratz.
Right.
And, so I watched Kobe matriculate, and I felt terrible about his death. But someone said to me, sometimes in 41 years you accomplish more than people that live to be 141 accomplished. It's just your time, like you're perfect in that moment. Yeah. And everyone's star wasn't built to shine for 95 years.
Right.
And I understand that.
Yeah.
But I think that it's very critical and important that we make some wise decisions here. I'm with you. I'm not into forcing people to mask up at gunpoint. I don't believe in that.
Me either.
But when it comes to our kids and it comes to our teachers, if you have 1.5% of teachers get coronavirus and have serious complications, that's a major issue. And so I just implore systems and leaders, how can we protect teachers? Can we retrofit buildings? Can we give people the option? There'll be some parents that don't want their kids to go to school. And, can we have options for them? Can we promote stuff like you're saying? Can we really promote immune system support? Like, why are we not promoting that? And I ask that all the time as a healthcare professional. I'm just like, we'll put someone on metformin. We'll put someone on a statin. We'll put someone on these different drugs. But we won't send them to holistic healing classes so they can learn what to eat and how to cook. And, we don't usually do that until they're so sick that they're near death.
Yes.
And then we make these radical changes. How can we help someone make a change when they're just barely hypertensive and just barely diabetic and just barely, having issues with cholesterol before it becomes, really chronic and almost impossible to make a U-turn on. So I like your perspective. I think that's a really good perspective, but it's a dilemma. It's a dilemma that we're going to have to face. We can't have children die. Even the most staunchest right-wing Trump supporter, if you lose 10,000 babies, that's not going to fly very well. And I just think, Shannon, I think that we've got to take our time on stuff. See, I believe in taking your time. And if we got to sit out the rest of this year so that we can retrofit buildings and come up with a strategy. And nobody had a strategy for this. That's not Trump's fault. That's not anybody's fault. It's kind of Trump's fault because he did fire all of Obama's people that had a pandemic playbook. But we didn't know that this was coming to this extent. But why not take the next 6 months, 5 months, and retrofit buildings and put plexiglass and change buses and create a new delivery system where we could do all of these things. I think throwing people into open classrooms in the wolves, I just think there's a level of risk that I'm not personally comfortable with. And if I had kids, not just worried about them getting sick, just worried about the theater. See, it's not just about them getting coronavirus, because chances are, 7, 8, 9-year-olds get it and not even know that they had it. They might feel
that's what's really happening.
They might feel a little bit of malaise for half a day. And then they'll be back running around.
Because their immune systems, it's the ones whose immune systems are strong. They don't even feel the symptoms. It will be weird
for children to potentially see teachers hospitalized and other classmates in and out and parents fighting and arguing. I mean, our children, we talk about healing. Our children are so traumatized by what's happened. I was talking to my little godson, Albie's son, when I was in Huntsville.
Right.
And, I just went by there and I was sitting in the yard talking to them. And his son came by. He said, "Hey, Uncle Lou, what's going on?" And, I'm talking to him. And I asked him, I said, "Hey, do you miss your friends from school?" And he said, "Yeah, I really miss my friends." He was 8 years old.
Yeah.
And he understands. He's smart enough to understand that, he's not going back to school anymore. But he said, "Uncle Lou, do you think that COVID will be over by the end of the year?" Because he's ready to get back to karate and basketball and all sorts of stuff. So we have to look at not just the physical health, meaning when you get COVID, but there's a mental component, and I don't want to do anything that could hurt our babies more than they've already been hurt, because they've already been through a lot.
Right.
And, you know, adults make decisions. If me and you decide to do the show live from Daytona Beach, and there's a party in the background, people are dancing and drinking and smoking, everybody's elbow to elbow, and we get the Rona, well, we're adults. We made that decision.
Absolutely.
But for children, they don't get to make those decisions. They're subject to the decisions that adults make. So that's just kind of my viewpoint on it.
Okay.
We'll be back. More of the Lance J Show. Shannon doesn't agree with me, but we'll be back with more of the Lance J Show after these messages.
Paragon 7 Studios.
I'm the one selling the records. They coming to see me.
They coming to see the Temptations.
Ain't nobody coming to see you, Otis. You wish you could work it the way I do. But you can't. Because there is only one David Ruffin. And without him, the Temps ain't nothing but a group in search of a David Ruffin. Matter of fact, I've been thinking, we should call the group David Ruffin and the Temptations. Yeah, that sounds good to me. You're begging me not to leave you, and I refuse to let you go.
You're listening to the Lance J Radio Network.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate online at carsforkids.com. That's cars with a K. Pickup is quick and easy. You'll get a vacation voucher and maximum tax deduction.
1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
You're listening to the Lance J Radio Network.
Hip hop and R&B.